Hello, Cátia. How are you? Seja bem-vindo.
Thank you. Obrigado, Andrew.
How's
I'm good.
you're back in Portugal now, yeah?
Yes, I'm back in Portugal right now since 2 weeks. I'm here as I'm working here. So yeah, you can see a bit of sun over there, which is different, but yeah.
It's more sunny than here in Madrid, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for being a guest this week. Really appreciate it. For everyone who's listening, I'm really excited to present to all of you Cátia Silva. She is one of the co-founders of Two Goals podcast. And yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what it is you do.
So first, thank you, Andrew, for the invitation. Talk about me. It's difficult for us, I think, to talk about ourselves, but in very short term. So as you said, I'm back in Portugal because I'm originally from Portugal. I did here my first degrees, let's say, and after when I finished, I moved out to Switzerland, where I stayed 5 years, and where I did the FBA, the master's degree, and I entered the football industry over there. Since then, like I was the lucky one, me and my colleagues, because we finished our batch, and 1 week after the pandemic started, so we were this.
That really is. Can you imagine being that class that got accepted to start that March or that April? I think it was
Exactly.
the fifth edition, yeah. Or no,
Yeah,
sixth edition, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is what it is. It's yeah, it's the challenges that we have in life, and actually it was challenging, but it was also great to work from home, let's say. And yeah, and as I found an opportunity to work in a company in Portugal, I moved out here again, and here I am. As you said, and I said too, I did a master's degree, and after that, as the pandemic began, we were confined at home. It was difficult even for the whole football industry to understand how it will be or how it would be at the time. And even now, we are still figuring out some things,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So for us, it was also the same to find also a job or even to start something for the entrepreneurs that we have. So we needed to do something. That's why we created a Two Goals podcast, me and Maria Laura. And we started a whole new journey. I don't know if you will ask me something about this
Oh,
after.
of course. You know, I've had the pleasure of following you for, when was the first time we spoke? I think it was last September. I
Yeah.
remember we talked on the phone for a while. I wanted to pick your brain because I also was interested in starting a podcast to some degree related to football. So you gave me some really great insight, but then I jumped right into the FBA and a lot of stuff started. Plus I was working simultaneously. So didn't really have any time, but you know, graduated 2-3 weeks ago. I'm working for Bazooka Goal. Maybe you can make a little side project. We'll see. But yeah, no, I've had the pleasure of following you and listening to you. But why don't you to the viewers out there explain what the Two Goals podcast is, what it focuses on, and you know, how did you kind of come up with the idea to start it?
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning. That when the idea came up, it was actually when I was doing my internship at Women in Football in England, where I sat down in a big room, and I knew no one over there, and they were all women doing their courses, and they were working for the best clubs in England and for the Premier League and etc. And for me, it was like an open eyes for everything. Of course, we don't need to know everybody, but it is not normal when you know a man that works in the club and you don't know the name of a woman. And as I had the experience, and Maria Laura also, my colleague, we had the experience that we grew up knowing the names of the men working in the top positions. We should have names of the women for us, the little Katia, to understand that she can work in football or in another job that she can have. So this was the trigger out there. It was like, okay, I don't know anybody. Who do I know in Portugal as a woman that works in football? And outside the women working on the TV, of course, broadcasting, I knew one woman. So this for me was like, whoa, what is happening? And that's why when we finished the degree, I was like, okay, it's the time to do something. What can I do? And also we know that we need to expose ourselves and to be entrepreneurs ourselves in some way. So this was my idea. I had a computer, Maria too, and we also could complement each other with two parts of the world. That's why the podcast is called Two Goals, because actually we are in two parts of the world. Exactly.
So,
and we can combine both things.
Yeah, and in my mind, because I know it is two girls that started the podcast, I feel like it's a play on words of two goals and two girls. So like every time I hear it, I think two girls, but like goals. It's weird,
Yeah.
the words combined together. So I really like that.
You can play with everything that you want. We only understood this at the end, because if the game football, it has two goals. So at the end we recognize that we found a good name, because we can play with everything with that.
Exactly.
So that's why I said this. And yeah, we created, began this new journey. We had the pleasure 1 month after that FIFA recognized us as one of the best podcasts for the FIFA women's football. In this case, was on Twitter, so it was also a great achievement. And since then, we've been creating new podcasts, recording even more. And yeah, right now we have 32 out there, I think, because I'm confused, because we have a lot of more recorded already. So
but
that's
not
why
published. But not published.
Yeah, not published. That's why I'm confused. But
so it's probably around 50. Like maybe you have like 10 to 15 that you haven't published, something like that.
Yeah. So
what let me ask you a couple of a two-sided question. One, what is the content on each episode? And the other side of that question is, how do you come up with the ideas for the content?
Okay, so our idea, as I said, is to know the person that is there in that position. So we have men's also as guests, but the men's need to work in women's football. But the women, it doesn't matter if they are working in women's football, men's football. And what we want to know, who is this person? What was her pathway? Because we have different pathways. So for us, it's to portray an image of a person, or a girl, or even a woman, because me and Maria, we changed pathways. We were 24, 25, 26 to work in football. So for us, it's important to look at the person and say, okay, what is your pathway? What are you doing now? What is your position? That is something that overall we know the name of the position, but we don't know what they do. So this is also one of the things that we ask for them to tell us. So actually, where they come from, where the passion started, the normal questions, but we try to mix up things, because of course we check up the guests, and if they have something that we know that is like a curiosity, we kind of connect to and relate. We do some research, of course, and after this is to know the person. For someone that is listening, to create a connection, to understand, look, this can be me, or this is me, this is the same pathway, and it is, or she is from my country, or she is from the other part of the world, because sometimes this happens. And one of the big things also we want to, more than this, and of course what is behind the mission and the vision and the values of every person and the companies they work, and more than that, we want to understand what is the perspective and the context of the country, of the people, the person that we are talking to, because this is very, very important. What is happening in Europe is completely different than what is happening in South America or in America. And right now we don't have right now a person from Africa, but we want to. We could reach until now all parts of the world. So we have the different perspectives from the other parts, which is very, very important to understand and to contextualize with what is happening. And we know, and we can share, we have a platform, we can share
Yeah,
what is happening.
exactly.
And,
You're lucky. You're in an advantageous position to, get the word out there.
exactly.
Awesome. So kind of pivoting back to what we do here at Bazooka Goal and the franchises we have of 3v3 tournaments, how is small-sided football, like 3v3 or 2v2 in the women's game? Is it something that women, or girls rather, are focusing on in order to sharpen their skills, in order to, improve their touch, their decision-making ability? How is small-sided football being utilized for young girls?
I mean, I will give my perspective
Yeah,
from
of course.
what I know. There is this women's football overall is still on these baby steps. Okay, it's still developing. We are still lacking girls that they want to play football. Or if you have like a lot of women and not looking only to the top leagues. Okay, you have, for example, in Portugal, you have one top league that is not fully professional. So you have 4 teams that are professional. The other ones, they probably work and play football. And these players probably they started to play with 17, 18. So you don't expect that they will have technique. What we want, and this is my perspective, is for them to start from the bottom, to start out as the boys start playing the small-sided football for fun and etc. And this is where you can implement these parts of 2v2, 3v3, you can, and you develop your skills through that. So what I don't see a lot of this happening. Of course, if you have a mixed team and you have a girl out there, she will play 2v2 or 3v3. If not, if she starts with 18 or 17, they will not have the chance. So
Exactly.
this is when I say, and we all in women's football, we defend that we need to have the structures and the base to start developing this pathway. We need to create these small teams, sometimes only for fun, because it's exactly what we want. And we need to have more of this, because I don't have like information that I can say to you, okay, they do this. Probably they do, or they play like this, but only in the men's team or in the boys team in this case. So we need more of this, we need to create these safe spaces, these spaces where they can play, they can have fun with this and learn and have technique. Because when you're watching a women's football match, it's the same at the men. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's a bit boring. You can have both. But if you look up to this as if a player, a women player, she started to touch a ball with 16 or 17, you will not expect the technique or the tactic or everything will be the same.
Exactly.
If you give this perspective and these options, as you were talking about Bazooka Goal, I mean, if you give these opportunities for them since they were young, and they have to choose if they want to play football or not, but at least they have this to try and to play, it will be a great thing. Because for now I don't have it. Of course, as I said, probably I can go out and see someone playing or 2 or 3 girls playing, but at the same time it's rare. I would say that it's rare, and this is important.
Yeah, and you're not seeing organized small-sided tournaments and stuff like you do in the UK or Germany or the Netherlands and Scandinavia. But what I'm hearing from you is that you understand the importance of small-sided football for what it does to sharpen your skills, especially from the younger age you start to do it. The more complete of a player you'll be when you grow up. And you can tell that difference. Like you said, you can tell someone that started playing at 15, 16 years old, or someone that's started playing at 5, 6 years old.
Exactly. And not, I mean, one of the things that you're struggling again in women's football, sorry, is that you don't have a lot of women or girls that want to play. Or if you have, in some countries, you have like the cultural barrier, the social barrier.
Yeah.
If you have something like this, these small tournaments for fun, why not? You're not playing football for competitivity, so you will develop yourself, but you also are opening a door for a girl to understand if she can want to play or not, and she can have fun at the same time.
Exactly. Yes, you
It's
hit the nail
both
right on
things
the head.
together. You
It's
need
a
to have this.
Exactly. It's a 3 for 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I also like too is, I mean, it's just the game of football in general, is that, like you said, women, I mean, in the past 10 years, the women's game has made incredible leaps. And now that I think about it, you and I actually talked because I had potential to speak with women in football myself, and I was gonna, potentially get into the women's side of the game. But it's just important in general for bringing people together. So like you said, like maybe a girl feels a little insecure, or I don't want to go play with the boys or something in a more competitive match. But if you shrink it down and you just make it a little bit of fun, and they'll be a lot more open-minded about going and playing, because they'll feel a lot more comfortable. That goes for anyone, not just girls,
Exactly.
but for me
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Even
So
for boys nowadays that they are stuck at home with video games, probably if you have this as an option, why not? But this is a
exactly.
way to change the mind. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Again, as I said, it's also for girls. Sometimes it's also about social and cultural barriers that we are still um, fighting for.
Yeah.
I have to say this because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I say this for a person that is living in a big city, and I already lived in big cities, this probably doesn't make sense. But if you go a bit to the interior, for example, in Portugal, or it makes completely sense.
Complete sense. Yeah.
It's where you have, like, as a company, as a business, you have your market
Yeah.
over there, and you also have in the big city, of course, in both sides.
Exactly. And going back to like the cultural barriers and stuff like that, you look at the United States, where for girls and women, football is huge. It's the number one sport for women in the United States by far. And it's the fifth most popular, maybe the sixth now most popular sport for men. So you can see, like you said, there's a market there. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the markets to places like Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, places that have the potential. They have they have the girls, obviously, and they have the interest. But especially, like, I'm half Greek and I live in Greece, so I can give you an anecdote. Is that my sister, growing up in Greece, she wasn't the biggest sports fan, but when she got into sports, she liked football. So she went to go kind of gravitate towards football, and everyone, friends, family, were like, "Don't do that. That's a boy's sport. You don't want to be a boy." Blah blah blah. And just saying all of these negative and harsh things, a little girl is going to be like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to go play that." But
Yeah.
it's just the complete opposite in the United States. So what we want to do is kind of try and fill the markets that, like Portugal, Spain, like the successful ones like Germany and the UK. So
It's
awesome.
great. Let me just say one thing that
Of
I
course.
need to say. I always say this, but it's this. It's the as women's football is growing, or outside soccer, like USA. Let's say like this, because you already have a structure. I think the brands and the companies that invest now in women's football will be most successful in the future.
In 20
Because
years,
of
in
what
20
you
years,
said.
they will be so rich. I swear.
Because of what you said, the ones who see this now, they will be the lucky ones.
If you look at the revenue graph for, I think it was in my women in football class, with Nicole Allison, she showed us a graph that had Tottenham's like value, like overall like women's team value since 2008 to present day. And if it's gonna stay on that trajectory, like you said, invest in that now, get into it now, because it is going to, I don't know. I want to say as big as men's football, because I really do believe it has the potential. But unfortunately, men's football has had a 150-year head start. You know what I
We have
mean?
a long way to go because women's football was banned and etc. etc. We have a long way to go, but at least, as I always say, this it's the same game. Game, sorry, cut this. Same game, different product. So
Yeah,
different product. It means you need to treat it differently. If you need
exactly.
treat it differently, you can look to the men's side to see what is happening. But this is the same thing as another company. You look to the others to see what they are doing.
Exactly. You have a different market, you have a different audience, you have different
Exactly. You need to
what do you call it?
understand.
Merchandise. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's the
It's a
same. So
completely, like you said, it's the same but completely different. You know
it's
that saying,
completely different.
same but different, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
That is men and women's
exactly
football.
that.
Same but
You
different.
need to treat it like this. But we have a long way to go,
Yeah.
and it will not be next year. It will take years.
Yeah.
It will take
No, it's going to be decades, just like it, anything good and worthwhile takes time,
yeah, exactly.
But I think with people like yourself who are advocating for it, pushing for it, making your voice heard, I think it's absolutely wonderful. And that's why I was so excited to speak with you today. And I was not disappointed. Let's put it that way. Your insight and hearing your story, it was really cool. So I really appreciate you taking a quick minute to speak with us. And maybe if I get involved in the women's game sometime soon, maybe I can speak on your podcast.
Yes, of course. Come and join us. After we launch this whole interviews we have recorded
Oh
already.
yeah, you're backlogged. You got a few weeks. That's fine.
Yeah, but come and join. We need as we say always male allies, but we say this because we need everybody to grow, and actually also to for the girls and the women that are playing now to feel also backed up, and that somebody is watching, somebody cares about the product, because there are a lot of people they care, and you can see about numbers when some game is broadcasting or broadcasted or etc. You can see the numbers growing, and
Yeah.
this shows you interest. Someone is behind a computer from the other side, so this is a great way to understand that actually is growing, and for me I think it will be better, bigger and better.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Cátia. Well, I will talk to you later. You have a great day. And again, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for an invitation.
No, absolutely. It was my pleasure, honestly.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you.